Good evening, collective. I would like to take a moment to address anyone out there listening truthfully, but especially anyone who was present at my wedding. Okay, I know a lot of people have seen, not on this app, but on other apps, a lot of the tumultuous things I posted, but I have been wondering how many of you saw that after being in attendance when we got married. See, what happened was when we got married at that church, that did kind of push me down a certain direction, but it was one I was fully willing to go. We got baptized and married in the very same day. Yes, I was dunked underwater, quickly dressed and dried my hair, and by the end of the church service, we were ready to do our little ceremony. To me, it was very heartfelt, and some people afterwards were like, wow, that is like what I really feel like a wedding should be, because it was not all the glitz and glam. It was the people who I really loved being in attendance for me to truly commit to the love of my life. I did everything I did fully intentionally. And in fact, I had a vision in my mind around that time where I said, you know what, God, I trust you so wholly and completely that if my whole entire house were burning down to the ground, I would pray, I want everyone safe. But as long as the people I love were out of the home, I could stand there and watch my own house burn down and still say, God, I trust you. What do you want me to do? And God's like, okay, cool. Thanks for that. And he let everything in my life burn besides my house. Now, this was my own leap of faith, and it was also a lot of step-by-step direction, as I usually day-to-day did not know what to do. But I did know what not to do. And that was worry about it. Okay. So since that time, although there were hard times happening to me directly, that I did not always know how to process or handle, that I did not always act the right way in the moment, I was able to take everything as it was given to me, learn what I needed to learn, and press on to fight the good fight. Now, it did not mean that marriage had to last forever. I truly did believe it would. That's why I did it. But quickly, when I realized it wasn't going to, I was like, that's embarrassing. But I quickly got over what everyone thought about me, because my main mission was between me and God. And especially once I had children, one of the primary ways that I would hear God speak to me was actually through my own voice as I spoke to my children. Because I prayed to God. I said, God, you know what? I'd rather teach my children nothing than teach them something wrong about you. And so I would be very careful with my phrasing, and especially coming out of that marriage where his overly dominant mother was a huge problem. And I was learning a lot about it through psychology, through listening to Dr. Ramani on YouTube. She's amazing. I was just listening, taking in every piece of information I could. I was paying so much attention in church, like praying and taking every note. And it's funny because some of the leaders who didn't do right by me, the things I wrote down in a notebook are really good information. And it took me some time to be able to circle back to the information I gained from people who wronged me. But truthfully, that is what is still helping me to this day. So the point of all of this, of all my social media, is to tell everyone, especially those who know me, who watch secretly, about the power of God for real in my life. And you don't have to believe it for it to be so, but you should at least ask yourself why you're so defensive or why you're so aggressive against me as I say that. So it not only caused my own siblings to falsely report me to DSS and say I hear the voice of God tell me to hurt my child when he was 9 months old. Not to mention when none of y'all had even ever came over to meet him, hardly. There was things with my mother-in-law, with Jesse and Jonathan. I mean, there was just every single person whose path crossed, who knew me apparently very closely, were extremely aggressive to me. And then when I needed a breakthrough to come through, it rarely came by my own hands. I could usually work out some temporary solutions day to day that were typically just bred out of me being very anxious and needing to do something. So I would do something, but since I would pray about it, it would end up kind of fruitful. But in the end, my full breakthroughs that really saved the day for me always came from something I had nothing to do with at all. And because I am the type of person I am, throughout my whole entire life, especially when anything happened to me, I would always thank and praise God in my heart. Like, I would be proud of myself and be thankful for who I am and be grateful that I was strong and, you know, had these abilities. And I would look at other people who had less than me and I would be like, oh, you know, I hate that for them. I'd be like, God, thank you for making me how you made me, strong enough to handle all these battles. I never once in my life ever wanted to trade lives with anyone else, because I never met anyone who had all the qualities that I possess that I really admire in myself. Now, I have looked at other people and said, wow, that's cool of them and that. I've not ever been jealous. I've simply looked for ways to implement what I admire in others in my own life. So that being said, you know, if I get anxious for a minute, I just pray about it and say, God, you know, I am anxious. This is weird. This is hard. This is not the way that other people do this. But the truth of the matter is, nothing ever touches me. It really doesn't. Nothing has. Not all the negativity, not all the aggression that people send my way. So at this point in time, I have seriously been through so much that I know my breakthrough is coming, and I'm not worried about it. I don't worry about it. And when it gets to a point where I need to pick up and do something, I trust that my connection with God is strong enough that He will show me what I need to do. That I don't have to sit here in my little brain and say, oh God, I'm worried. What should I do? What should I do? Now, I can still pray that prayer, but because I've already spent my season of doing every little thing and, you know, checking every little corner and doing all this stuff, I know that this time it's a waiting game. It is purely a waiting game, and God will come through again. That this is not coming from a place of arrogance or anything. It is coming from a place of gratefulness and a place of knowledge of my own life and who I have been and the ways God has showed up for me. So to the people who, for example, the day I got fired, I literally prayed that morning. I said, God, I hate this job. I hate this job. But what am I going to do? Everyone says, you know, I've been told since I was 15, I wasn't allowed to quit a job unless I had another source of income, which was wild because at 15, I didn't have any bills. But I've been taught that work is the only thing I'm supposed to do. So the morning I got fired, I prayed to God that I hated my job and what should I do about it? I mean, that's just pure comedy. And, you know, I can't really sit here and describe every little way because a lot of people just want to use those as ways to attack me. But I'm telling you, again and again, God has came through for me. That is why I do not worry about one single thing. He tells us don't be anxious about your life. And yet people who supposedly have so much more than me are way more anxious than me day to day.